Revolutionary greetings. Hotep, Jumbo, Haki, Kweli, Shakur, Cedar, Gabriel, Prosser. Coming back at you again with my next subject, next topic that I want to get into. First, let me go ahead and get this out the way. Salutations to my ancestors, my Agoons. Salutations to the cosmic energies, the forces of the universe that's walking with African people, no matter what name we call them, whether it's Netaru, Orishas, Abosom, the Liwa, Alusi, no matter what you call our ancestors, man, and the cosmic forces and the energies of the universe, you dig? That's what salutations go out to, Shout out to the New African Independence Movement. Shout out to the Republic of New Africa. Shout out to all the New Africans in the United States of America. Shout out to all black people, all African people globally, worldwide. Shout out to the Kiwis, the Damus, BDs, Vice Lords, all the street combatants, street orgs. That's what I do it for, the lumping, the proletariat, 9 to 5 strugglers, man. Anybody that's involved in the struggle that's being oppressed across the world, man. That's what I do this for. Let's get free, man. We got to get free. How do we get free? Especially for African people. Got to know where we come from. Got to know our past. Got to know our history. This Black Month, this Black History Month. New African History, Our Story. 365, RBG Black Academics. Shout out to the RBG Street Scholar. Gotta know, like John Henry Clark, gotta know where you came from, man. The past is, like he said, that clock. So, just another subject that I'm gonna touch on from, where I'm from. Virginia, the land of the rebellion, the land of the revolutionaries, the land of the, origins of the new African nation, man. So this is what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about the Igbos and Igbo land, Virginia. And the other second half going to be about Igbo spirituality, traditions, mythology, and basically what they was doing before all these westernized religions came into West Africa and all the conversions and, people willing to convert, or whether they was forcefully, forced to be converted into something new, which is we know as religion, patriarchal religions. And that second half gonna be dealing with that, the original indigenous spiritual traditions of the Igbo, which is, like I always say, it's nothing but voodoo, but it has many names, but it's the original universal systems on earth. Whether, the Great Mother was a part of that, which is goddess worship, because on every part of this world, earth, the Great Mother, the goddess, was the first, one that was worshipped all across. So, just to get that in there also, to keep people reminding you that the black woman is God. That's basically what I'm going to get in today, man. I'm going to get into the Igbo. And reason why I'm getting into the Igbo and why I'm choosing these people, because these people are the majority of our ancestors that were forcibly removed from the continent and moved to North America, the Caribbean islands, South America. I mean, wherever the slave trade took our great ancestors to, man, these people are the greatest percentage of those people that make up many, many more ethnic groups that emerged in the Americas and across this continent of North America and across the continents, the South America, the Caribbean islands, all that, the Igbo. These are some special people, and this video is about specifically the Igbo that was brought to Virginia, because this is the place where the most Igbos was brought to, and they had heavy contributions in building this country that many of y'all might not know of. So I'm gonna just run down their brief history, and then I'm gonna get into the spiritual traditions of this. So I'm gonna go ahead and rock that out. And I just want to send another shout out to, Kunta Kinte, the conscious comedian, man, for having me on the show. And the show was a success. It was a great show. It was powerful. Hopefully it'll be up online soon. I'm gonna share that with y'all. I'm gonna post that link on my Instagram, and so y'all can see the show that we did on New African Political Prisoners, Dr. Mutulu Shakur, for New African History, Our Story Month. Because I don't really like to use that Black History Month because we already know what's behind that. And the show was great, man. That's all I can say, man. I enjoyed myself. Hope many people watched it. And that's about it, man. So let me go ahead and knock this topic out. I don't want to hold y'all up. I don't want this video to be long because I know my videos be kind of long because I can talk for days. So let me go ahead and get, the Igbo people, man. They are diverse people. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're responsible for a lot of, great things that cultivated over years as far as culture, agriculture, things of that nature, science, astronomy, all these type of things. And, I just wanted to get into them because this is a lot of information that's been suppressed about the Igbo. A lot of, like I said before, a lot of, other ethnic groups came out of the Igbo that was evolved in the Caribbean islands. A lot of those people in the Caribbean islands are Igbo. And they descend from Igbo. Just like here in North America. And in South America, Brazil, all that. You know what I mean? Wherever our African people are, the majority of those slaves, those captured political prisoners were Igbo. So I'm going to just go ahead and get into it right now. Matter of fact, just going to be touching on the Igbo farm village and the Igbo village that they recently, dedicated to the Igbo people in Northern Virginia, which is called Staunton, Virginia. So this is what I'm basically going to be talking about, is these people, you know what I mean? Let me give you a brief history. We're going to get into the brief history of the Igbo. From 1770 to like 1830, when the Igbo diaspora was at that time at its highest peak, the Igbo people, comprised of 70% of the blacks of Virginia, a larger percentage than any other southern state. So that's just giving you a little brief on that. In the 19th century, the state of Virginia received 37,000 in captured Africans from the Calabar region. The 30,000 were Igbo. 40 to 60% captives taken to Virginia were from the Biafra, Nigeria. 60% of black ancestors of black Americans have at least one Igbo ancestor somewhere in their bloodline. Let me repeat that one more time. 30,000 were Igbos from Calabar, Biafra, Nigeria. 40 to 60% of these captives taken to Virginia. Today, in North America, 60% of black Americans, or 60% of new Africans in North America, have at least one Igbo ancestor. So you might want to do a little more research and lineage research in your family, man, because I guarantee you somebody in your family descends from an Igbo, at least one of your ancestors. So many Igbo were brought to Virginia in rapid numbers at one time, it was designated by Nigerians back home and in North America that Virginia is the Igbo land of the West. So that's just a little something for y'all to, think about. Virginia is Igbo land. And I'm going to go ahead and run down some more brief history on the Igbo. Let me get right on to it, the Igbo of Virginia. The history of the Igbo. Their history is so vast and so deep, man. I swear to you, man. Y'all gonna love this information that I'm about to bring across to y'all about the Igbo, man. This is about the Igbo and Atlantic slave trade. The Igbo and Atlantic slave trade became one of the main ethnic groups enslaved in the era lasting between the 16th and late 19th century, located near indigenous Igbo territory. The Bita Biafra, also known as the Bight of Bonny, became the principal area in obtaining Igbo slaves. The Bight's major slave trading ports were located in Bonny and Calabar. A large number of these slaves, kidnapped, bought from fellow Africans, were taken to Europe and the Americas by European slave traders. An estimated 14.6% of slaves were taken from the Bight of Biafra between 1650 and the 1900s, the third greatest percentage in the era of the transatlantic slave trade. These are the ethnic groups that I was just telling you about that are, evolved out of, the Igbo lineage. And, these groups are well-known, they're well-known ethnic groups that many of you, today, consider yourselves. So I thought it was important just to let you know that some of these groups descend from the Igbo, originally the Igbo people. They were brought there in mass numbers to these areas. Okay, these are the ethnic groups. Ethnic groups were fairly saturated in certain parts of the Americas. Hold on. Lost my train of thought. Right. Ethnic groups were fairly saturated in certain parts of the Americas. Because of the planters' preferences in certain African peoples, the Igbo were dispersed to colonies such as Jamaica, Cuba, Hispaniola, Barbados, the Empire of the United States of America, Belize, Trinidad, Tobago is just a few of many. Elements of Igbo culture can be still found in these places today. In the United States, the Igbo were found common in the state of Virginia and Maryland. It's an estimated total that 1.4 million Igbo were transported via European ships across the Atlantic in the era of the Atlantic slave trade. Most of these ships were British. Some recorded population of people of African descent on the Caribbean islands recorded 2,863 Igbo on Trinidad and Tobago in the 1813 census, 894 in St. Lucia in the 1815 census, 440 on St. Kitts and Nevis in the 1817 census, and 111 Igbos in Guyana in the 1819 census. So that shows the vast amount of people that's in the Caribbean island that descends from the Igbo people. Now let me get into the Igbos of Virginia, which is what this video is about, because the Igbos, man, in South Carolina also, because some Igbos are in South Carolina, and some of the Geechee people, man, the Geechee tribes, most of these Geechee people and a lot of these people are Igbo, man. Period. Trust me. Somebody, at least one ancestor. And these people, a lot of these people tribes, and a lot of these people in the North Americas and Korea, you have at least one ancestor that's an Igbo. That's a fact. But let me get into the the Igbo farmland village in the Igbo land of Virginia, man. The 1700s Igbo VA, West Africa, and their contributions, man. During the 1600s and the 1700s, nearly 250,000 Africans were brought to the colonial America to serve as enslaved agriculture workers, domestic servers, and artisans. Although captives were taken from the vast area of the African continent and from many different ethnic groups, the great majority were members of West African cultures that lived in the hinterlands of the Atlantic coast. Africans lived in all of Great Britain's North American colonies. Through the population, though their population was the highest in South Carolina and Virginia, just talking about the Igbos. Beginning in the early 1700s, Virginia tobacco planters imported increasing numbers of captive Africans to work their plantations, to shift from white indentured servants to enslaved Africans. In the colony's tobacco economy of Virginia had far-reaching repercussions. Race-based slavery soon became a central feature of the life in Virginia, and Africans and their Virginia-born descendants would be treated as property and denied the freedom and opportunities of the white colonists. A settlement expanded westward. Enslaved Africans and African Americans were among the settlers in the backcountry areas. Nearly 40% of Africans imported into Virginia during this time were brought from a part of West African coast called the Bight of Biafra. Many of these captains were Igbo, a people living in the upperland area north of Bight of Biafra is what is now the nation of Nigeria. The West African farm represents life in free Igbo household in the Biafran hinterlands in the 1700s. Now here's the contributions to American culture of the Igbo. The African captives who were brought to the American colonies carried knowledge, skills with them that they used to cope in their new conditions and passed on to the subsequent generations of Americans where Africans settled in colonies. They contributed to the growth and the success, the local economy, and the wealth and the status of their owners with their labor. When permitted, they influenced the form and the function of pottery, basketry, woodworking, and textiles. They produced for others. Their most notable enduring contributions to the American culture and American civilization that would come into existence in North America are found in the foodways, music, folklore, and spiritual religious worship. Okra and black-eyed peas are amongst the common items in the American food supply that were introduced by Africans and Igbos. The banjo and particular musical forms such as blues, jazz, grew from African ideas brought to America. American folklore shows African influences, especially stories involving animals speaking and behaving like humans, founded the enthusiasm and the spirit of the Christian worship among many Protestant denominations in America believed to originate early in African and African American worship. This is from the 1700s West Africa. Salutations to the Igbo farmland and the Igbo civilization that helped give contributions to build the North American economy, country, culture, music, etc. And I'm letting all my peoples know out there now that you can come to Virginia and you can go visit this great, beautiful site of the Igbo people that they built in Northern Virginia, starting Virginia, man. It's the 1700 West African farm. And it's in Northern Virginia. Look it up, Google it, or whatever you have to do. As you can see, the Igbo, man, is basically, we know who built North America. We know what our ancestors did. America wouldn't be nothing if it wasn't for our ancestors. We know this, man. This is common sense and pure fact. You see what I'm saying? So let me move right along to some other interesting, things about the Igbo people of Virginia. This is what they found in certain parts of Northern Virginia, because they also found Igbo graves in Lexington, Virginia. And a lot of Igbos were migrated, because at one time, let me say this, because at one time Kentucky, West Virginia is really Virginia. Kentucky and West Virginia had a great percentage of Igbo people there that helped build up the cultures there. And in Northern Virginia is where we find most of our great artifacts of our great ancestors of the Igbo people. They found grave markings of ancient writing from the Igbo people that's engraved on the graves and stones and tombs of great Igbo people in Lexington, Virginia, and I think it's Amherst, Virginia, if I'm not mistaken. But let me just run down this, and I'm gonna post this picture. I posted this picture on my IG, which you can go to. It's Haki /Kweli /Shakur, and I'm gonna post this picture over of some of the Igbo artifacts that they found in Northern Virginia. This is one of them. This is a stone that they found with Igbo cosmological symbols on it. So you can show this going into some science now. We're going into some universal stuff now. Because how our people is, man. We universal people, man. The article in which I researched and found this it was called "What a Slave in Virginia Wrote in the African Writing System is Now Decoded." You probably can Google that, go look that up. Especially my people from Virginia. But if all my African people, new African people across America, go look this up. Nigerian Igbo ideogram, grave marker in Virginia. This is, and I'm going to post a picture on what it looked like. These are stones that they found. The stones were probably engraved between 1770 to 1830, when the Igbo diaspora was at its height in Virginia. At that time, the Igbo people comprised approximately 70% of blacks in Virginia, a larger percentage than any other in the southern state, as I stated in the beginning. Here's go the information on the stone. A star symbol at the top of one stone signifying congress or unity. Has similarities to the Congo cosmogram that depicts the life cycle of birth, life, death, and the afterlife. The cosmogram symbol has equal perpendicular crossbars or lines, sometimes contained in a diamond shape or a circle. Here, the lineal symbol in the lower register appears to be a combination of the sign for individual, and this land is mine. Together, the sign means the deceased has joined the realm of the ancestors. Both symbols are enclosed in a rectangle denoting their association. A line separating the symbols emphasize they are separate but one. Igbo ideograms were important elements of religious spiritual practices and served as a mnemonic devices associated with spirituality with more historical narratives. In the Igbo death and burial traditions, Nisibidi symbols honoring the ancestors were thought to protect the deceased. The most appropriate place to honor one's forefathers was the cemetery. At times, the deceased were consulted for help with day-to-day problems. Items such as chickens, rum, schnapps were offered as gifts for the deceased during a graveside ceremony in Northern Virginia. The spiritual religious tradition of Africans forced to journey to America can be seen in objects and symbols that remain in the African American cemeteries today in Northern Virginia. These artifacts suggest the strong and vibrant history of a people who, in spite of the adverse conditions of slavery, found ways to perpetuate their heritage. They were able to retain their family traditions and spiritual commitments to the deceased, either by iconography or by more direct representation. The Asiatic developed from combining or creolization writing systems, the particular use of color and isometric forms and making of the objects for daily use and content was associated with spiritual beliefs. Marks and objects in cemeteries that look merely decorative to the uninformed eye may be African signs and symbols. Just as the iconography in the cemeteries can be divided into three categories. One, signs of ancient systems of African origin. 2. Secular objects and surrogates for ideograms. 3. Revival African traditions interpreted in new ways. Example of such African retentions. Subconscious transmission from prior generations exist in burial grounds and established cemeteries, in particular in southern United States. See, I got this stuff written down on my notes. A cemetery in George Washington National Forest in Amherst County, Virginia is where these stones were found. It's a good example. For decades, observers have committed that the gravestones had strange marks. Recently, these marks have been identified by this writer as African ideograms originating in Nigeria. The gravestones are inscribed with what appears to be Nisibidi and Igbo writing systems conforming the survival of Igbo. Traditions during the transatlantic slave trade made a high-quality blue slate indigenous to the area and mined from a local quarry. The stones showed little damage from weather at times. Subsequently, the place was named the 17 Stone Cemetery of the Igbo in Northern Virginia. In the 17 Stone Cemetery, an iron pot was found set into the ground, suggesting the possibility of ancestral veneration and ancestral worship. At this site, historical sources describe how slaves worshipped in the forest by talking to a pot. The retainer for the words and thoughts that could not be made in public. African inscriptions and accompanying religious practice were outlawed during a period of enslavement. Creating such symbols was punishable by death because of its association with witchcraft. See, this is showing you how them North American, European Americans started demonizing our African ancestors from the Igbo people's indigenous spiritual traditions, man, and customs, which they know wasn't evil, because a lot of this science, a lot of this architecture and things that were built in Washington, D.C., up to Maryland and across Virginia was done by Igbo architects, man, and Igbo scientists. Trust me. This is what these stones are also. Few examples of African ideograms still exist in the United States. Virginia, Igbo, Nigeria, the ancestors, the Egons. So that shows you, man, some of the highly strong contributions that the Igbo made to the United States of America, man, originating right here in Virginia and across the South. The Igbo are responsible for knowledge, skills, agriculture, writing systems that kept them in contact with their ancestors back home in Nigeria and to keep their culture and traditions going here in the hills of North America. The Igbo, man, some great people. Being that I haven't done my DNA lineage test yet, which I'm going to get to, I'm going to get to eventually, man. One day I'm going to get it done, because I promised myself that one day I'm going to get it done. And with that being said, not, it's highly probable that I had Igbo, that's probably what I descend from, Igbo people. And, one day, hopefully, I'm going to find out. Because there's only a few segments that were brought to Virginia that I know about in my research. Was the Igbo, the Cameroonian, Ashanti, Akan, Angolian, and the Mendi and Mandinkas. Those were the main source of slaves that were brought to Virginia. And the Yoruba. Can't leave the Yoruba out. Because the Yoruba and the Igbo, a lot of these, great ancestors were brought out of Nigeria, so I can't leave out the Yoruba people. And there's many subgroups, ethnic groups also that come out of Nigeria that come from the Igbo and the Yoruba and regions of Nigeria that also were brought here. So this is why I know for a fact why I have such a heavy connection to Nigerian culture. Like it's stuff that's natural, man. It's a natural spiritual feeling that you get on knowing where your ancestors come from and knowing who you descend from, basically, because it's a spiritual feeling. And then, like I always tell y'all people, man, research the Africans that were brought to your state, especially if you live in the South. Trace all the Africans, look up all their cultures, look up all the African history that you can find in your state in the South. And even from the northern Midwest and out west in Cali, you can trace your lineages because all y'all come from the South. This is how y'all got in those regions. You see what I'm saying? When we started migrating from different parts all out of the South throughout the last couple of decades. You see what I'm saying? And it's crazy because the great majority of New African people, black people, still live in the South. We still outnumber every other area of the United States of America. From Virginia to Florida, from Florida to Texas, up to, Kentucky and Missouri. We outnumber everybody. The black belt. And that's the majority of that people were Igbo. So I just want you to go do your homework on that. 9 out of 10, you have Igbo ancestry in your blood. So I think you need to, it'll be good for your self-education to, do this research and go trace your lineages and trace the African ancestry of enslaved slaves that were brought to your state. So now let me move on to the second part of the video, which is the Igbo spiritual traditions, mythology, spirituality. Because a lot of people and these crazy Hebrews and all these crazy people, they want to claim Mother Nigeria. Why do they want to claim Mother Nigeria? Because Mother Nigeria is one of the oldest, places in Africa, in their history, in their contribution. This is why they want to claim it so bad. Because the Nigerian, Mama Nigeria, period, is the Holy Land. I don't care. A lot of people get obsessed with Egypt, and I'm not knocking that. I love Kush. I love Kemet. I love Somalia. I love all those areas on East Africa. I love Tanzania. I love Kenya. I love all those areas. I love Central and South Africa because that's the origin of African people, period. But the majority of these people in West Africa are Niger-Congo people. They come from the Congo. They come from Congo people. The Congo is the origin, period, of African people. The majority of the people in West Africa descend from the Congolese, the Congo people. You see what I'm saying? So all of it is one culture. This is why they all have the same spiritual traditions, the same knowledge, the same sciences, because they all come out of this area. And some of them, the people up in up in North Africa and Sudan. Because the Sudanese, they migrated over to West Africa too, but all those people originally are from the Congo. Period. The Congo is the source. But let me move right on along so I can shut this video down. Igbo spirituality. They got a system that's called the Odinani. And they have a, just like Yoruba, just like the Ifa, they do Odinani divinations. But I'm going to run down through the deities real quick. And the, ancient pantheon of the Igbo people. And for the record, the oldest practices of Igbo people and spiritual traditions is the mother goddess. They praise the goddess first. This is the first all across Africa, period. But I just had to say that so people and all these crazy Hebrews who keep running with all the Igbo is Hebrews. Yeah, that's later on, man. That's way after European and Arabic influences, man, that they converted to Hebrewism and Christianity and Islam. So stop running around, giving out this false information and false history. Igbo originally and indigenous were the same as all Africans that came from the Congo. They believed in voodoo, period, which is, ancestral veneration, cosmology, salutations to nature, and communicating with deities to communicate with the creator, period. This is the oldest in all ancient civilizations, period, including the Igbo people. Let me move right on along. The Odinani Igbo mythology and spirituality. Just like in Kemet, just like in Yoruba, just like in South Africa, they all had a pantheon of, cosmic forces and cosmic energies that they got in tune with and got in contact with to have effects on their lives daily. And the Igbo pantheon of these forces and cosmic energies and deities and divinations and divinities were called the Alusi. So these are the same as the Neteru, same as the Orishas, same as the Abosom of the Akan people, same as the, well, I ain't gonna really say the Liwa. Yeah, the Liwa are ancestor spirits and spirits, so they kind of got a split thing going on. So yeah, the Liwas, which I'm gonna get into the other part of the Igbo people, Igbo name for the same as the Liwa. But these divinities are like the Neteru, the Abosom, Orishas, period. And these divinities, Alusi, are the goddess Allah, the god Amadioha. I'm gonna make sure I say this. Amadioha, Amadioha. The goddess Anyawu, Igwe, Agwunisi, Ike Wensu, hold on, make sure I'm saying Akinga, and Indi Bunzi. Those are the Liwas in the Igbo spiritual tradition. They are the same. That's your ancestors. You see what I'm saying? Spirits that the Igbo people used to get in contact with. So let me go ahead and run down this. These are legendary figures. Agbala, Iri, Owamiri, Munwawu. The sacred places of the Igbo people were Earth, Aguleri, Ibini, Ukapabi. Now let me move on and give you an explanation of what the Odinani is. The Odinani is a traditional, spiritual, and cultural beliefs of the Igbo people. Odinani is a monotheistic and pantheistic faith, having a god. Although a pantheon of spirits exists, the lesser spirits prevalent in the Odinani expressly serve as element of Chukwu, which is the divine creator, which is what Olodumare is in the Yoruba Ifa traditions. Let me move right on along. What is Odinani? Odinani plus Ani, Igbo, the land or the earth or the goddess in the northern Igbo dialects. Ominala plus Allah is the Igbo land or the physical manifestation of the earth goddess is dry land, that's used primarily in southern Igbo dialects. Now these are the Alusi. Chukwu incarnations in the world of Igbo Uwa are the Alusi. The Alusi, who are also known as Arushi, Anusi, or Arusi in different dialects, all spring from the goddess Allah, the earth spirit, who embodies the workings of the world. There are lesser Alusi and Odinani, each of whom are responsible for a specific aspect of nature or abstract concept. According to the Igbo belief, these lesser Alusi has elements of Chukwu, have their own specific purposes. That's just like the Netaru and the Orishas. These are the list of the gods, goddesses, and gods of the Alusi. The goddess Allah, which I can go even deep into. That's where Allah come from, the Muslim. You know, the Muslim name, because you know the goddess Alat was the first. You know, they had goddess worship before Islam even came on the scene. So you can connect that right there. I always say the goddess Allah of Nigeria is the same as the goddess Alat of Arabia. You see what I'm saying? And out of this word is what you get Allah. Allah was feminine, just like every other deity. The first deity, the first creator on earth was the goddess, the black woman. Period, man. We ain't got to debate that. And anybody want to discuss that, holler at me, because I know what it is, and a lot of us need to find out what it is, man. The black woman is God. Let me move right along. The goddess Allah, meaning earth in Igbo, is the earth spirit who also responsible for morality and fertility and the dead ancestors who are stored in the underworld in her womb. She is the ground itself, and for this reason, taboos and crimes are known as Inso Allah, desecration of Allah. Allah is depicted in Mbari temples of the Oweri Igbo, but smaller shrines are placed in the public squares of communities and in the homes of their devotees. Now let me go on into this next god, which is nothing but another version of Shango. These are like the same type. They're the same type of cosmic energy and cosmic force. Amadioha, meaning free will of the people in Igbo, is the Alusi of thunder and lightning. It is referred to as Amadiora, Kamalu, Kamanu, or Ufufe in certain parts of Igbo land. He is governing the planet. His governing planet is the sun. His color is red, just like Shango. And his symbol is a white ram, Aman, Kemet. Metaphysically, Amadioha represents the collective will of the people. He's will. He's that cosmic energy force of your will. And is often associated with Anyanwu. While Anyanwu is more prominent in northern Igbo land, Amadioha is more prominent in the south Igbo land. His day is Afur, which is the second day for the Igbo 4-day week. Now moving right on along to Anyanwu. Anyanwu is the Igbo word typically for the sun. And in many, ancient civilizations, cultures across the world, the sun was seen as a male gender. But in some societies, it's different. In the Igbo, it varies. The sun could be a he or a she. And Anyanwu is an example of that. Anyanwu, Igbo, the eye of the sun, is an Igbo deity that is believed to dwell in the sun. Anyanwu is one of the principal spirits of the Igbo, often associated with Agbara, the Holy Spirit, as they both dwelled in the sun. This deity was seen as the perfect image of what humans should be. Anyanwu is a surname given to the people of the Igbo ethnic group in Nigeria. Moving right along. Another deity, Igwe. Igwe is the Alusi of the sky. This is like Nup of Kemet. Igwe is the Alusi of the sky and is the husband of Allah, but it's a male. Nut is a female and Kemet, sky deity, is a male. See, it goes back and forth. He produces rain to replenish the earth and the earth goddess to aid her productiveness. Ooh, that's deep. Njokuji is the Alusi of the yam. See, this is the thing about animism societies. They believe spirits are in all things. Plants, animals, food, everything. That's what animism is. Another one of the oldest traditions of African people on earth is animism. Go look it up. Agua Nisi is another Alusi. I'm gonna skip that because I'm trying to shut this video down. I already went over my time. Here's the word for the ancestors of the Igbo. Just like Egun in Ifa and Yoruba language, the Inde Bunzi, or Ndichii are the deceased ancestors in the Odinani. It is believed that the dead ancestors are invisible members of the community. Their role in the community in conjunction with Allah is to protect the community from epidemics, strife, such as famine and smallpox. And here's a few more. Akinga, Ekwensu. Ekwensu is an Igbo spirit with a convoluted modern identity. Among the Christian Igbo, this spirit is misrepresented as Satan. See how the Christians try to always label something they don't understand as some evil? That's that European influence, man. It's seen as a force which places some opposite to that of Chukwu. This illusion was adapted in bargains and trade and praying to Ekwensu was said to guarantee victory in negotiations as a force of change and chaos. That's like Oya or the Orisha. Ekwensu also represented the spirit of war among the Igbo. That's Ogun. He was invoked during times of conflict and banished during peacetime to avoid his influences, inciting bloodshed in the community. This is based upon the finding of old shrines dedicated to the worship of the spirit, as well as recounting of old oral stories which depict characters of Ekwensu. Panentheism. Odinala is a panentheistic faith having a strong central deity at its head. All things spring from this deity. Although semi-pantheon exists in belief system, as it does in many indigenous African and Eastern religions, Chukwu is the central deity. Chukwu as the creator. This is the creator. Everything, visible and invisible, and is the source of other deities referred to as Chinike. Chukwu is genderless, possessing the supreme power in the cosmos control. To the ancient Igbo, the force that Chukwu is infinitely powerful, and no Madu human beings approach this force directly. Also, the force does not impact into our world directly, but rather through lower forces. The general truth is that no person can work with or deal with Chukwu. So this is what I always talk about when I say that the creator is so far away that the mind can't comprehend everything about the source in the creation, man. It's impossible. So that's why people need to stop trying. Because some parts are not meant in the mental, physical realm to comprehend from the source, the creator source, which is Chukwu, Oludumare. All those great names for the creator is the cosmos. The human can't comprehend something that's that far away and so vast and so, deep, because we're here on earth. We're not out there. You see what I'm saying? So it's some things we're not going to know about the creator in the physical realm, but we will find out when we transition back to the cosmos. This is why the Igbo people were easily captured by teachers of imported Western religions, which holds that either Christ, or Christianity, or Muhammad, or Islam is a lower force. The lower forces are the outflows from the mainstream sparks from the supreme force that takes forms. They are the incarnations of the Almighty Chukwu. Odinala identify these lower forces by their names and use collectively term Arushi to describe them. If an Arushi is assigned to an individual, it becomes Chi. The term panentheism refers to as belief system which possess that God personally exists, interpenetrates every part of nature, and timely extends beyond it. Such interpenetrations in a spiritual view occur as lower deities or Arushi. Odinala therefore anchored its belief on the existence of only but one supreme being, Chukwu, and many lower supernatural beings or deities, Arushi or Lucy. And so, I'm going to go ahead and, That's just a rundown of the great Igbo people of the Biafra of Nigeria and the great Igbo of Nigeria. I salute you, great ancestors of the Igbo. I would be, I would be posting a little bit more in-depth pictures on my Instagram of the Igbo contributions to America and the Igbo land of Virginia. Virginia is the Igbo land of the Western Hemisphere. As I sign off, free the land, Pomoja Tutashinda, together we will win. Iba, Eguns, Ashe, pay homage to your ancestors, and Yahuru Sasa. Let's get free, man. Freedom starts with your history, starts with your past, your culture, your spirituality, your mentality, your spirit. This is where the first liberation occurs. And I'm signing off right there. Haki, Kweli, Shakur, Cedar Gabriel Parser, Cedar Ann Woods, Lady Outlaw. Free the land.